Hey everyone, it's Frederick Kramer here, and in this video we're going to talk about how to do the painful work that actually makes you successful. Because as you probably know, work requires a lot of discipline sometimes, and the more you overcome, the more you're going to become successful. And that's the reason in the first place why success in a financial way is actually worth so much, because it's so fucking hard to achieve. And I have some juicy tactics here that are going to help you to, just accomplish the painful work to actually get to where you want in life, which is probably 7-8 figures. Before we do that, my name is Frederick Kramer, and I'm on a mission to revolutionize productivity by helping agency owners double, triple, or quadruple the speed which they get rich. So without further ado, let's get into that. The first thing you need to understand with pain is slash discipline, right? When I talk about you need to be disciplined to do something, discipline is essentially doing something even if you don't want that, and not wanting to do something is just the pain associated with the task. This could be outreach usually, or sales calls, sometimes also working on your service or your product. But usually it's outreach or sales calls which people find the most painful. And the reason why that is painful, to keep it very simple, is your brain is making a lot of excuses why doing something is not good. So for example, on sales calls, maybe like, I don't have the perfect sales script, this doesn't make sense, the prospect doesn't have any money anyway, doesn't make sense to do that. Outreach, the people don't actually care too much about my product. Like it's building a lot of limiting beliefs very quickly. And the reason why it's actually doing that is because it's actually very comfortable with the routines in your life that you have right now, and it is not comfortable with achieving something more than that because it is afraid of what could happen, which is obviously stupid. And you, like, on your like conscious level, you know that this is stupid, but this is the reason where where that's coming from, or like why that is coming. And that's just key to understand, because if you, the next time you want to do something and you start having like a belief that it's stupid or something, like the prospect doesn't have any money, which doesn't matter too much on the call actually, because at the beginning you just want to take every call that you can, right? Then you just need to keep in mind that this is actually a form of resistance, and that this is also a form of pain that you can overcome. And pain, I don't know if I already said that at the beginning anyway, I'm just going to say it again one way or another. Pain is a very good compass of what you should actually be doing in your business, right? So that means the most painful task, or of the things that you could be doing right now, the thing that is most painful is usually the one that will actually get you the closest to your goal, just because it's just exactly that thing, right? It's a subconscious resistance or fear of success. And the thing that's going to get you the closest to success is naturally going to form the most resistance. It's a bit complicated, but the more discipline it requires, the more high leverage it's going to be. Just like simply because, as well, because the harder something is to do, the less people actually do it, and the less people become successful, right? And the people that became really successful, they went through a lot of pain. Okay, now, how can we actually reduce the amount of pain and actually get through the tasks? First of all, eat the frog. I don't know if you already know this, I'm just going to re-say that one way or another. Do the painful thing first thing in the morning. Ideally, like if you're able to start working in the morning, if you have like a 9 to 5 job, this might be different, but just do it the first thing when you start working. Because when something is painful, let's say you have to do like some cold calls, all day, every day, you're going to think about the cold calls that you have to do later. But if you have already done them, then you don't need to think about them. And also, when you've already done them in the morning, from noon to evening, you're just going to be happy that you already did the cold calls, right? So this is just going to make it easier. At the beginning, of course, like when you get out of bed in the morning, it's going to be very painful. But as soon as you have done something, then it's a lot easier to actually do. And yeah, it reduces pain. Next thing, set a timer. You usually know how long it's going to take to do something, how long a sales call is going to take, probably 1 hour, maybe 1 hour 15 or something. And you also usually know how long you need to do like 1 outreach or 10 outreaches or something. Just set yourself a timer, and obviously make that according to the goal, what you want to do for the day. If you want to send 150 outreaches or something, then set yourself a timer for that. And the reason why you want to do that is not only because you're going to stop procrastinating, because you see that the timer's going on there, and when it's going off, you need to be finished with everything. So that's one thing, but also you can just look at that and see when it's going to be over, what you're doing right now, right? That's also making it a bit easier. And what I also did sometimes, especially with like lead sourcing, which is very boring, right? You're just going on the internet and trying to find people over and over and over again for like 4 or 5 hours or something, is that I set myself like, okay, I'm taking about 2 minutes per lead on average, and then I put that into the spreadsheet the specific times when I had to find the leads. And then whenever I found a lead, I could just take like their name, and then I could sort of play against my own prediction to be to be quicker than that, right? So that's very very powerful as well, and goes against pain, and that is sort of distracting you as well, because you're not thinking about, oh, this is so boring, because you actually have something else. Especially for tasks where you don't need to talk to other people, you can also just listen to music to make it a bit more fun. That also works quite well. Then, very powerful as well, do something more painful before the thing that you're doing, right? That is also why Eat the Frog is so powerful, because let's say first thing you have to do is you have to do cold calls. After you have done cold calls, a sales call would actually be not that painful, right? Because cold calls is like very very painful, because you have to call like random people that don't know you, and you have to pitch them something. And especially when you have like in your childhood, like people were always calling, and your parents like, these people that want to settle something, it's bad, you know, you're just going to naturally have some resistance, and you can't help but feel that, right? And when you finish with that, with all your cold calls from first thing in the morning, and after that you have sales calls or something, you're not going to think, oh yeah, that's so painful, because these people already know you, right? They agreed that they have a problem, and when someone is scheduling a call, they're deeply into pain and they want that solved, right? So these people are actually very, very interested, and simply that is going to make the sales calls very easy. And just talking to someone who's not very rejecting is going to be a lot easier, because on sales calls, it's still like, there's still some pressure usually, especially at the beginning when you don't have that many reps. But like reps in sense of like repetition, not sales reps. But you know, it's just easier that way. And it's even more of that comparison. For example, when you did cold calling at the beginning and then you have to source leads. Lead sourcing is still boring and monotone, but cold calling is also monotone, and you just, at least nobody's talking to you, and at least you can listen to music now, right? Your brain just works off of comparison. And let's say if we just removed like all the painful work from your life, or like the most painful things, let's say we remove cold calling, we remove sales calls, and maybe some things on the product side. If you suddenly have to, or not certainly cold calling, can also obviously be like sending cold email or cold DMs. If we remove that, then suddenly the pain is just going to move somewhere else, which it will now be, you'd suddenly find lead sourcing very, very, very painful, and other things. So the pain in your life is just, it cannot be like 10 times bigger from the task that you're doing, right? So if you add a new task that's quite painful, then other tasks are going to become less painful, because your brain is working off of comparison. That is what I wanted to say. And what you can also do, which is also another way of motivating yourself, especially when the pain is really big, is imagine what happens in your life when you don't do the work, right? We as entrepreneurs, we have a very, 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 very powerful reason why we're doing what we're doing, because nobody's just out of nowhere going to come up with the idea, let's start a business, let's do like some crazy stuff that's going to take us maybe 2-3 years to actually really be fruitful, so that I actually become successful. You invest like thousands of hours to do something. And yeah, cool work at the beginning. In my case, it didn't really, because I just made like a lot of mistakes, and people don't respect you as much as well when you're younger. It's all sorts of things, right? It's very painful. Like people are not doing that for no reason, right? Maybe you have been traumatized in your childhood. I'm not saying that it has to be the case. Maybe people don't respect you and you really, really hate that. Maybe you just hate an average life, something like that. You just have to think about the thing, or the core reason that motivates you before, like, and think like, if this shit is going to happen, the average life with my 9 to 5 and people not respecting me, whatever your motivation is, right, is going to happen when I don't do the work right now. When I don't do these fucking like 500, 300 cold calls right now, right? That is incredibly important, because that is also a way that sets the pain level higher, and then you do something else, and it's like, either your life is going to be miserable for the next 50 years or however long you're going to stay alive, or you just do these cold calls, which are very painful, but then your life is going to be awesome eventually, right? And the last thing that you can do, or the last thing that is very important here, is that you need to cut the time between reps. What that means is, or why that is necessary in the first place, is when you're doing something painful, you're going to start naturally procrastinating a little bit. Maybe you don't realize that at the beginning, but I catch myself doing that a lot. For example, when I wanted to learn a certain script, so I wanted to memorize that, because usually when you say something naturally, it's not immediately going to be perfect. So most people just write themselves like scripts for VSLs or something. I think that makes sense, right? And I wanted to memorize that script. And between like each rep trying to record that, sometimes I spent like 5 minutes or something, and I don't even know, like, of course now I know, it's because of pain avoidance and everything, but I don't even know, like, what am I actually doing there, right? You're just randomly stopping and then you do nothing, and then after some time you come up with the idea, oh yeah, let's try it again. This doesn't have to be for recording, it could also be for outreach, or like, let's say like for cold calling, right? When you did like one cold call, between two cold calls, you need to cut the time you spent between one thing and the next thing as much as possible. Also between lead sourcing, when you have found the like one lead, just cut the time immediately. Like immediately once you have one, immediately go on with the next one. With cold calling, this is obviously especially painful, because you just went off somewhere, were in some way actually very happy that the people didn't pick up on the phone ringing or something, because you don't want to talk to people, and then immediately the next cold call starting with the fucking like calling sound and everything. You're stressed, your heart rate, you can hear your heart pounding and everything. You don't want to do this, but it's just going to get you over the pain quicker. And this procrastination is actually wasting, it's probably like 40% of your time or something is spent between the reps procrastinating, or maybe even like 60% when you really, like when the situation is very bad. But you can cut this more and more, and then the task is just going to be done quicker. Then you can set the timer like for like a smaller time frame, and you just, it's going to be a lot easier, right? You're just going to get more done, and that's also going to help you. So what can we remember from this video? First of all, pain is the core reason why success is actually worth anything. Because if it was so easy to become a millionaire, then becoming a millionaire would just be as much as maybe doing like $40,000 a year or something, right? Pain is inevitable if you want to be happy. Either you experience the pain now and you experience pleasure later, or you experience pleasure now and pain later, right? You can also experience pain now and no pleasure later, but if you're doing work for some particular reason, obviously you're doing that for something that's going to help you in the longer term, because otherwise you wouldn't be doing that. So just always keep in mind, the pain is going to be there, and it's going to be there the most where it's actually the most helpful, and your brain is making excuses because it doesn't want to do that, and you need to start identifying these excuses, like the people don't have any money anyway, I'm tired right now, I haven't had my coffee, or some shit like today. You have to understand that these are not limiting beliefs that actually have a reason, like a logical reason. The reason is just that you are procrastinating on the task, / your brain just really doesn't want to do it, right? Next thing, eat the frog. Do the most painful thing first thing in the morning, or as early as you can in the day, because then you don't need to think about it like after that in the day, and you can actually be happy that you have already done it. Then, which is also good for the other reason that something is less painful if you've done something more painful before. So you can just start with the most painful thing, then you do the second most painful thing, and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, the work is actually going to be very easy and very fun. Then set a timer for the work, so that you just know, okay, now it's going to be over, and that is how much time I have. You can also gamify what you're doing, and then, like I said, just imagine what happens if you don't do the task at all. Right now, maybe not, because business is very long term, but just imagine that all of your business stuff is not going to happen if you don't do the sales call now. If I don't go on sales calls, I don't make sales, I don't make money. I still have to live in this home or whatever with other people that are loud. I don't know what your situation is, right? Or I have to keep going to the 9-to-5 job with this boss that is shouting on me like every day or something. I don't know what your situation is. You probably know very well, and you also know like why you want to get out of that. So just imagine that you're going to stay in that situation for years on end, which is going to be the case if you don't do work, right? Which is just going to motivate you to do work, right? And then last thing, just cut the time spent between reps. So most of the time work can be split into reps. On sales calls, this actually works quite well. So it's not that much of a problem, because each rep takes like repetition, right? Not sales rep, takes like 60 minutes or something. And the calls are scheduled, right? So you can't like waste too much between the calls. But when you're doing cold calling, for example, just spend as little time as you can between one cold call, like cold call number 1 and cold call number 2, or cold call number 401 and cold call number 402 or something, right? Probably you don't do like 500 cold calls a day, but you get the point. And yeah, that is really everything. If you really start implementing that, and if you go through more pain, and especially quicker, right? You spending like less time doing the painful work, it's going to be less painful as well. And this is just going to really push you forward, and it's not going to be very comfortable, but it's going to be more comfortable for you now after watching this video, especially more comfortable than for the other people that don't know this. So you're just going to have like another edge of your competition after this video, and you'll just be able to destroy the people in a painful way, but just in the natural way, like the organic way. No cutting corners here. No like hiring someone else before you can do something. This is, by the way, also a form of pain avoidance, but this is just going to help you out. By the way, if you want to scale an agency, but at the end of each day you feel like you could have done 10 times more, there's a link in the description where you can check out how it can help you beyond these videos. Doesn't matter to me really if you click that or not. What matters to me is that your time is being saved. So I just wanted to leave that door open. If you want YouTube to recommend you more of these videos because you want to go through some more painful work or something, then feel free to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Yeah, I really appreciate you watching this to the end. Now it's just time to do the stuff and to go through the work, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.